If you've been following the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, dating back to before the pandemic, but really back in March of 2020 when this whole thing started, you'll see that the card prices have been creeping up significantly on a nearly month-to-month basis. Cards that used to be super affordable, even tin promos and older cards that were never really that high of a demand, have now gone pretty much off the market for anything near mint. Now, I personally took some time off from the trading card game from July of 2020 until about March of this year, just to kind of recollect myself, and ultimately because I had trouble fully investing in a game I couldn't go in person and play. We really haven't gotten to that point yet where I live, but in a lot of places across the country and the world, people have been able to return to locals, and there's a hope that with vaccines coming and things of that nature, we could be looking towards a return to play for probably sometime in August, September, maybe, assuming things go well. With that in mind, I've started picking up some things to try and reestablish my collection. Everything from staples I got rid of when I sold out of the game to random things that I'm looking at in the future being able to go up in price. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 7 cards under $5 that I personally have picked up that I think could be pretty decent investments. Some of them look like they're going to be a little bit longer term in terms of seeing any actual return on them, while others are perhaps more immediate, but depending on various factors, including the usefulness of new support and whether or not we continue to get support for existing archetypes. Before we jump in, I just want to clarify I am not a financial advisor, and any investing that you do should be at your own risk, but I am putting these cards out there because they seem to have gone under the radar for the most part, and I think they could be decent returns as far as the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG goes. With that said, let's jump into today's video. Alright, first thing on our list is a card that's existed for quite a while. It's Searing Firewall from Hidden Arsenal 5 as well as Dual Terminal 5. Now, for the purpose of recommending this as a pickup, I'm going to tell you to stay as far away from the Hidden Arsenal 5 copy as possible. It's a super rare, there are hundreds of copies of it available online, and I really don't think even if it actually did become good, that the card would have any type of significant gain. Now, the dual terminal copy, on the other hand, is limited to about 12 listings on TCG Player right now. And there are a couple people who have a lot of copies, but other than that, they're pretty few and far between. I personally picked up about 25 of them myself, but you don't necessarily need to go that crazy. For those of you wondering why, when Ghost from the Past was fully revealed, which we will talk about a little bit more in a future video, because I think the set has gotten some unwarranted criticism, Searing Firewall, people started to look at as a potential option with the new Laval support we got announced, including Laval Archer and Laval Salamander. Searing Firewall basically says banish any number of Lavals from your graveyard, special summon an equal number of Laval tokens in defense position. It has no restrictions on tribute summoning, synchro summoning, etc. It doesn't lock you into types or attributes, and ultimately what it means is you can go through your entire Laval cycle with Rekindling, make a big board, whether it's Cosmic Blazer, Red Supernova Dragon, etc., and then play this to use those already utilized resources in your graveyard to make even further extensions. This is free, and it doesn't have a once per turn restriction, so you can in theory play more than one if you have enough Lavals in your graveyard to support it. Unfortunately, I don't know that Lavals will have any type of meta relevance, despite being one of the most fun decks ever, in my opinion, and having an insanely explosive combo with things like Rekindling and just links in general now. Halqifibrax gives the deck a huge boost, having Rekindling at 3 gives it a huge boost, and the new support is probably some of the best support they've gotten. Searing Firewall could go up. It's about $2 a copy right now if you take shipping into consideration. I don't know that it's going to go anything dramatic, but if it did become relevant and the decks did use it, you could maybe see the dual terminal copy hit $5 or more, so it could be worth taking a chance on. Next one is going to be a card you guys are probably familiar with. I think a lot of people have talked about it recently. With the underwhelming set as a whole that was Blazing Vortex, it's kind of starved for value outside of Starlights and Prosperity. Warrock Mountain is a card it's taken me a while to convince myself to want to pick up, and I'll tell you why. Warrocks as a whole are cool, but that's about it. The archetype is bad, there's not much going on there in terms of any type of competitive viability, but we do know they're getting support in Lightning Overdrive. Now, Warrock Mountain is essentially a tanky for the deck, so when it's activated you can search one. It also has an additional effect that allows you to special summon a Warrock monster from your hand at the start of the battle phase, and protect a warrior monster from being destroyed by battle, so there's a few things going for it there. But it's a secret rare that's just at the $5 line. And if Warrocks did get good support, which is a big if because it would have to be drastically different from the approach they took with the initial support, this card would easily go up in value. I mean, it's safe to reason that the same thing happened with Hidden City back with Subterrors. For a while, they just kept getting mediocre support. When they finally got decent support and had a working engine with things like Guru, the card went haywire. It was up to, like, I think 30 bucks, 40 bucks. I'm not sure how high it reached, and I'm not sure Warrock Mountain would hit that same peak. Oh, no pun intended. But I do think it is a solid pickup, just in the sense that it feels like a bit of a risk-free investment. It's less than $5. It's a secret rare in a set that we know is not going to be in this year's Megatin, so there's plenty of time for that return on your investment to sort of come to fruition. I would be wary of picking up too many, but if you wanted to invest maybe 15 bucks in a playset, or even 12 if you can kind of mix and match shipping and combine it with some other stuff you want to pick up at the same time, Warrock Mountain does feel like a card you might want to have just in case the new support is good. Next one is another card from Blazing Vortex, and I promise we'll move out of that theme after this, and that is Live Twin Lila Treat. Now this card is about $2.50, give or take, and aside from having some really cool artwork, is not that great. People love the live evil twins. I think, you know, in general, the waifu tax, as many call it, has helped with some of the value from Genesis Impact, but that set is starved for value as well. Lila Treat is an extender that does allow you to special summon. Its secondary effect is not that great, but the special summon is still decent enough in terms of being an extender, and its typing is not going to be make or break one way or another. I think it's one of those cards, though, that this archetype seems to be fan favorite. They've made a bunch of playmats for it for the return to play events. I think you've seen some of the links from the initial Live Twin cards start to go up in price, and this just feels cheap. Like I'm saying, I don't expect anything from Blazing Vortex to immediately become meta relevant or extremely valued, but this is a pretty cheap entry level to get into for an archetype people really like. It just feels like one of those things that could end up being a decent return with good typing, good attribute, and overall just being somewhat solid in the deck as an extender. I don't ever see it being something they would play at 3, so I don't see it being something you would want to, like, you know, rush out to buy out off the market, but there's 174 listings from different sellers. You could probably get a playset of this for $5 or less, and just stash it away on the off chance it does end up being a decent return for you. Next one is one I'm actually kind of optimistic about, because we know we're getting a Legendary Duelist set in the summer that is going to be wind themed, and we also know there'll be a ghost rare in it. We're not sure what, but there is a lot of speculation it may be Stardust Dragon, perhaps in an alternate art. We know it won't be Crystal Wing because that actually got announced for Ghosts from the Past, so it's all kind of up in the air right now. But Speedroid Domino Butterfly is a card from Duelist Pack Dimensional Guardians. It is a super rare, and it has no other prints, and this may be one of the worst sets ever made. So whatever that's got going for it, in the sense that you're not going to see a lot of people with this. I would imagine that there's a more sealed Dimensional Guardians to this day that, like, people just didn't open because it kind of flopped as a set, than a lot of other similar Duelist packs and styles. But Domino Butterfly is about 3 and change, and it's really neat because its pendulum effect is pretty solid. So you can discard a wind monster, then target a banished wind monster and add it to your hand. That is a once per turn effect, and it also does lock you into pendulum summoning only wind monsters, but that's not hugely significant. In other words, though, you can discard a wind, target a banished wind, get it back to your hand. So it does filter through some of your banished stuff. It has synergy with other Speedroid cards for sure, but we don't know what wind cards are going to get announced in this Duelist pack, and some of them could end up being really good. It also has a monster effect that basically says if it is special summoned from the extra deck and is used as material, it has to be banished. So I don't really think you're looking at this card too much for the whole monster effect part, but it's not awful. Again, just being scarce in terms of availability and having a really solid pendulum effect and being a tuner, so working well with Halqifibrax combos, does make it feel like this is a card that may just be completely overlooked. There's 26 listings on CCG Player at the time I am making this video, and that's not too many, especially because most people seem to only have one copy. So could be a little investment on the next Legendary Duelists that may pan out if any of the win support we get is actually good. Alright, next one is Viper's Rebirth. I think I may have missed the boat on this one in terms of it being like a quarter, but it's from Absolute Power Force with no other prints. If the only monsters in your graveyard are reptiles, you can special summon any non-tuner monster from your graveyard, but destroy it during the end phase. That doesn't really matter because you're going to link with it. And ultimately, what you really want to do with this card is utilize it going, within your first couple of turns. The archetype that's coming out in Ancient Guardians, of course, with all the new reptile support, is going to be the best way to use this. I believe it's Abhiss. I don't know if they changed the name for English yet or if we know exactly what that is. But it has some really neat combos in terms of being able to revive any of your Abyss monsters, or just, you know, decent reptiles in general, including one of the other cards that we have on our list here, the last one. Basically a free revival that is not super hard to meet, given the fact that any reptile deck that might be half decent right now is probably going to be mostly loaded up on reptiles specifically. And this is basically a Monster Reborn that just gives you extra extension and can also help to, you know, it doesn't negate the effects of anything it brings back. So you could get additional benefits just from using it. And it is currently going for around $2.50 for Unlimited, a little bit more for First Edition. Don't forget, Absolute Power Force First Edition, I believe, was pretty scarce back in the day. I'm not sure if it was one of the ones that was only available in tins, but it was definitely not super common. I'm a little iffy on this one, but I did pick up some. This was definitely a card that if you got them at like 10 cents, you know, you're riding comfortably right now. And if the Abyss deck does anything here, then, you know, you may really see this card be utilized, but they may, you know, elect to go in a different direction, or even give us more reptile support, because Snake Rain is just an insane card. Who knows, maybe we'll get a soul charge for reptiles too, just to complete the trifecta. So definitely my least confident recommend on this list, but if you want to pick them up, or you can get them cheap, even if you have them bulked, or if you know, your locals has bulk boxes, I don't know, go through and see if you can find them. Maybe you'll get lucky and you find a decent thing you can sit on. My biggest worry about this card is the mass amount of quantities that are out there because of how much Dual Overload was open. So obviously Dual Overload being open, as much as it was with people chasing down things like Halqifibrax, Verte Anaconda, and so forth, means there's just hundreds upon hundreds of copies of this card on the market, and it doesn't exactly strike me as a card that's going to be spiking anytime soon, despite being insanely good. So it needs 2 monsters, including a reptile. When it's Link Summon, you can make an opponent's monster's attack 0. Definitely useful, not amazing per se in terms of, you know, just lowering attack is not crazy, but it's useful enough in certain scenarios. The real effect here is during your main phase, if your opponent controls a monster with 0 attack, you can add reptile monsters with different names from your deck to your hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack, but you are locked into reptiles for the rest of the turn. So there are plenty of reptile monsters that you can benefit from with this, the Abyss ones in general, but all of the reptilians, some of the combo pieces. There's a reptilian that's an extender. You can't really do anything with Halqifibrax after you've used this effect, but if you play right, you might be able to, you know, resolve its first effect, do a few other combos, and then use the second effect, and sort of end on either an Abyss boss monster or, you know, another reptile that you find to be fitting. Obviously, the typing is hurt by the fact that there is not a massive amount of reptiles to utilize, but you can search Evil Dragon Ananto with this, which gets you a board, you know, pops something on the field at the end of the turn. Right now, Echidna is about 45 cents with, you know, general 78 cents shipping. So if you're buying these in bulk, if you're buying like 10 or more, you can get them at 50 cents a piece, which feels like a really good investment. If you cracked a lot of Dual Overload, you might have some of these. It feels like one of those cards that is really kind of dependent on reptiles just becoming better. But as a whole, it's such a low entry to grab that I think you'd be silly not to at least have a playset if any reptile archetype, or especially the Abyss stuff that's coming out, is something that interests you. The final one that we want to take a look at is Laval Cannon. Now, Laval Cannon is a really neat card. It was kind of lackluster for the longest time because of the fact that it just was so reliant on the normal summon to actually do anything. But Laval's back when they actually had full, you know, rekindling and reasoning and all that stuff. Definitely still utilized it because of its ability. So when it's normal or flip summon, you can target a banished Laval, special summon it. The basic combo was use Lakeside Lady to banish itself and something else, pop a set card, and then you can summon it, special summon it back, make a synchro. That is not like a super powerful play anymore, but I think Cannon gets a lot better by the existence of Laval Archer, which is a new card we're getting in Ghosts from the Past. When Archer is normal summon, you can normal summon an additional Laval monster that turn, so basically you're getting 3 monsters on the field when this is all said and done. And of course, being a warrior, it has really good synergy with the Infernoble Knights. So you can play cards like Renowned in the deck to give you extra extenders, make a tuner, and kind of recycle your other Laval cannons. You're going to probably want to play multiple at this point with Renowned. And it just creates a really neat synergy within the deck that Laval's never had access before without Archer. So I think Cannon's neat. I personally picked up Dual Terminal and Secret Rare Laval Cannons. I'm not a fan of the aesthetic of the Dual Terminal one, just with the Shattered Glass. It doesn't do it for me, but the Secret Rare looks beautiful. I do think they warp, though, because it's Hidden Arsenal 6, and they kind of have that warping effect going on. So it's a little bit tricky to decide which one I like better. Ultimately, the Dual Terminal one is going to be the better investment, I think, if you're looking for a return, and it is heavily reliant on Laval actually doing something. But there is support coming out. There's additional Laval support coming out, and I believe Lightning Overdrive, but it might be the next core set. I think it's Dawn of Majesty, so I'm not sure which one it is. Either way, though, Cannon being a Fire Warrior, searchable by Rhoda, synergizes with the Infra-Noble Knights, so you can play Renown in the deck and sort of have a nice little tech engine there. Renown works with Boost Warrior, who's also a Fire Warrior, so Laval's have a ton of stuff going for him on that regard. Cannons are about $2 for the DT and about $1.50 for the secrets. However, there are only 9 listings of the DT available at this time. I personally invested in a decent amount of them, but I don't really intend on doing anything with them. I'm going to build the deck, and that's why I bought a lot of it in the first place, but it seemed like it was kind of worth grabbing just in case. So if that's something you guys are interested in, Cannon definitely feels like it could pan out to at least maybe $5-6, and again, on the off chance that Laval is actually able to break out and do something, especially as we're getting Supernova Dragon 2 in Ghosts from the Past. So these are the 7 cards today that I'm talking about under $5. Again, I have picked up all 7 of these in full disclosure, but I do think there's some validity behind a lot of them, and that was kind of my rationale behind wanting to pick them up. So let me know what you guys think. Any of these cards have potential to sort of, you know, have a return in the future, to go up in value? Do you think any of them will see play competitively? I always love to hear the feedback from everybody, so please let me know. And if you guys haven't seen my latest video prior to this, which was the Legendary Duelist box opening, we are giving away a pack of Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight sleeves. You can check out that detail for full details on that in the video, and I will put a link in the description below for that one. So thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a great day, and good luck investing.